After years, my dad decided to remarry, and I flew back from overseas, loaded with good wishes for their wedding day. I was picking out a heartfelt gift for my stepmom Sharon, but she confused me for a homewrecker, and gave me a piece of her mind first. Sharon and her posse of scorned wives, who'd had their homes broken by affairs, pinned me down in the jewelry shop, aiming to set me straight. "You little witch, climbing into bed with my husband, and now you're after his wealth too," she spat. "Let me school you on how real ladies behave," she vowed. "They roughed me up, wrecked my store, carved up my face, and snapped my arm. They ruthlessly destroyed the mementos my mother had left me." Spotting a scar on her neck triggered some buried memories. As I faded out from the pain, Dad finally made it there, bleeding and broken. I stared at him, heartbroken. "Dad, do you really know who you're marrying?" The day before the wedding, I was in the VIP room of my jewelry store, selecting pieces for Sharon. "This masterpiece has been waiting for the right owner, priced in the billions of dollars," I boasted. "Ms. Evans, giving away something this grand. Shez hitting the jackpot," chimed in my assistant, Sarah. Her eyes sparkled at the sight of the regal emerald set. "This is the one, pack it up," I decided with a soft smile. "It's perfect for Sharon. She'll absolutely adore it." Sarah handled the jewels with care as we heard Furious ranting outside. "I am tying the knot with Jack tomorrow, and this sly fox dares to demand his money and shares. Does she think I am an easy mark?" "Exactly, we need to put this cocky little vixen in her place today. Show her who's the queen here," her friend added. "This sleazy game of chasing cash through affairs needs to stop. If she gets away with it, we'll be swarmed with copycats." "Absolutely, it's our duty to knock down a mistress," the crowd agreed. Intrigued onlookers began supporting, shouting their own tales of woe. "My husband was charmed away by another woman, now he's ditched the family and is trying to leave me broke. I wish I could tear her apart," one yelled. "These vultures destroy happy homes and deserve a reality check," another exclaimed. "Ladies, why make it tough on each other?" "But sis, we back your move to teach her a lesson," offered a supporter. "Thanks for backing me up, folks. We won't disappoint you." Sharon rallied her troops. With public backing, the scorned wives' confidence surged. I scowled. Their shouts could likely be heard throughout the mall. I am all business and usually stay out of personal dramas. However, their uproar at my store's front was bad for business. I stepped out of the VIP room, ready to defuse the situation. To my surprise, there stood Sharon, whom Jake was getting married to tomorrow. He had once shown me her photo, and praised her for her kindness, and the care she gave him. Had told me he wanted to grow old with her. When I first saw her, I felt strangely familiar with her, because she kind of reminded me of Julia. Jake had promised never to remarry, to stay by my side forever, for the sake of Julia. Yet, he announced his engagement 3 months ago. Jake had been through a lot, so I didn't remind him of his old promise. If Sharon made him happy, who was I to deny him that? And yet here she was, hunting down a so-called mistress. Behind her, 4 ladies around her age held up a banner, Mistress Supreme, specializing in seducing married men. Jake, a man of integrity and deep feelings, involved with a mistress. Unlikely, it had to be some mix-up. I texted Jake and stepped outside to introduce myself to Sharon and help clear the air. But the moment she saw me, her face twisted in anger and envy. Before I could speak, she slapped me hard, her diamond-studded nails slicing my cheek, leaving some blood marks. The pain was instant and searing, like being burned alive. She glared, her eyes blazing with fury. "So the little tart is actually here. Getting a thrill from seducing someone's husband, huh? Not satisfied with conning him out of this store, you want his shares too. The greediest little thing I've ever seen. Aren't you afraid of choking on your ambitions?" Sharon's tirade hit me like a bolt out of the blue, nearly knocking me off my feet. Shocked, I stared at her and her brigade of scorned women, their glares filled with scorn and fury. The onlookers, convinced by her rant, shot daggers at me with their eyes. That's when it hit me. Sharon thought I was Jake's kept woman. Absolutely absurd. As a child, Julia and I were kidnapped to extort a hefty ransom from Jake. Terrified, the trauma caused me to spike fevers, and eventually lose all memory of the rescue. All I remembered was Jake paying the ransom, but they still brutally killed Julia. Jake, fearing another tragedy, raised me secretly abroad, and kept my existence under wraps. After coming of age, Jake moved back home, nostalgic for his roots. I stayed abroad to further my studies in design. He gifted me this jewelry store on my 18th birthday. I personally designed every piece in this collection. Knowing it was a misunderstanding, I shrugged off Sharon's slap and insults. I just wanted to clear the air. "You're mistaken. I am not the mistress you're accusing me of being. I am Lind." "Cut the crap, you conniving witch. It's too late for excuses. It'll teach you a lesson you won't forget." Sharon interrupted, grabbing my hair, and throwing me to the ground. Agony surged through me as my head crashed into the glass case. Ouch. The glass shattered, webbing out from the point of impact. Blood blurred my vision as it trickled from my forehead, attacking without the facts. What happened to decency? I fought for breath, struggling to rise, but Sharon stomped on my face, grinding it like she was squashing an ant. Sarah was frozen in shock for a moment before snapping back to reality. She was about to call the police when 2 of the women grabbed the phone from her. They shoved her into the VIP room, and locked her in. A voice from the crowd shouted, "That's what she deserves." energized by the shout. The women seemed invigorated as if spurred on by adrenaline. One grabbed my phone, shoved it in my face to unlock it, and passed it to Sharon. Sharon gripped my phone, stepping harder on my cheek, mangling my face so I couldn't utter a sound. She held up the phone to the crowd. Look at this. Check out what this homewrecker has my husband saved as dear old baby. And just look at how much is shelled out for her. You still deny it's you. As she scrolled through the chat history, her hands shook with anger. Then, in a fit of rage, she smashed my phone. Jake and I mostly talked over the phone, only texting for gifts or transactions. My usual name for Jake was Père, a common French term. If any of them knew even a lick of French, they wouldn't dare treat me this way, young and already a homewrecker. In the old days, you'd have been drowned for less. Suddenly, I was the target of everyone's wrath, facing a barrage of accusations and insults. Sharon stood towering over me, hands on her hips, looking down with sheer disdain. Ladies, you've all been victims of homewreckers. What do you think we should do with this one? Her words twisted their faces into masks of vengeance. They glared at me as if I were their worst enemy. Today, we're going to teach you how to behave. Only knows how to climb into bed for money, huh? I squash bugs like you. Ladies, let's tear her face up, and see if she can seduce anyone then. They charged at me like wild animals, devoid of any reason, just blinded by hate. Punches and kicks fell on me like hail. Their strikes were as ferocious as any grown man's. My body shook violently from the blows, my organs quivering with each hit. Defenseless, I curled up, clutching the jade pendant my mother had left, silently enduring the onslaught. Sharon looked down at me, smirking with a victor's glee. Kneel and knock your head on the floor 10 times. Strip, wear this banner and circle the mall 3 times shouting I am a slutty mistress, and maybe he'll let you go. Chilled to the bone, I realized this was my future stepmom, nothing like the gentle, caring woman Jake had described. The venom in her eyes was something no truly kind person could harbor. Jake had clearly been duped by her facade. Struggling, I managed a weak, hoarse whisper, you, harpy, I will not let you marry my dad. Though she was crushing my mouth, they failed to hear me say dad, but the word harpy rang out loud and clear.